This week in Hey the Parents, we're talking about what happens when your kiddo is making friends. Sometimes things go really well, and other times they have to deal with conflict. Between taking turns choosing what to play, can we find the right tools to help them? What happens with kids in their class? Friends they make on the playground, and all those crazy things that happen when other kids come into the mix? Well, in this episode, we're going to talk about friendships, unstructured play, independence, and setting boundaries. And of course, we talk about when we were younger, mishaps with our own kids, and what the supposed experts say. Because it's the three of us and all of you. I'm Michael Haidt.
I'm Sara D.
And I'm Mike Levine.
Kids don't come with a handbook, so we need your help.
Where do babies come from?
Where do you think they come from?
Is this a kissing book?
Mama! Mama!
What?
Hi.
I learned it by watching you.
There are no rules in this house. Not like a regular mom. I'm a cool mom.
We sent them to the best boarding schools. We hired the best nannies. We did everything right.
Hey, Mom! The meatloaf!
No drinking, no drugs, no kissing, no tattoos, no piercings, no ritual animal slaughters of any kind.
Together, we can rule the galaxy as father and son.
This is Hey Other Parents, an honest, messy, imperfect show for raising kids.
Hey, welcome back. It's us again. Hello. Hello, my friends.
What's up? Hello.
So glad that you came here to hang out with us as we figure out this pairing thing. So right now in the background, you can't hear it at home, but for copyright issues and entirely other things, I am torturing our dear friend Mike Levine here with a remix of
This is my
Tom
good buddy
Jones.
right here. This is my buddy.
No, it's not. This is not who you think it is. This is Tom Jones and Taylor Swift together. This is it's not unusual to Shake It Off by DJ Shmuley. You guys have to look this up on YouTube. It's amazing. So while you can't hear it, I'm smiling right now, and Mike Levine is frowning. So this episode, before we get started, this episode we're gonna be talking about, friendship, meeting kids, kids in the playground, kids at your house, going to Playdates, all that fun stuff. But before we jump into that, I have to tell you guys, just yesterday, I couldn't even believe this time of year. It's crazy. It is for my peeps. It is Purim. Purim is on the agenda. It is that crazy holiday where you make the triangular hamantash cookies. You got those cookies that have all the jelly inside. I don't know what it is with my people and jelly. Apparently, it's either like jelly filled donuts or jelly filled triangles. I don't know. But anyway, so yesterday we went over to.
Sounds like smart people.
I mean, I get it, right? But listen, it's time for us to break from the jelly and try other things. But we went over to my wife's parents yesterday, and it was kind of nice. We had our cousins, my sister-in-law, Sharon and Max, and their kids, Nate and Sam, came. And so we had all 5 grandkids were there. And my mother-in-law, she made the dough ahead of time, like cookie dough, whatever. Took it out. She had all like different jellies on the table and like chocolate chips, and it was so cute. The kids like tried to make their own cookies. We had like all the the rolling pins to get all the dough ready, and they had it was pretty smart. She had like glasses that the kids would like invert and then like squish on the dough and like make little circles. And I go to help Ethan, and Ethan's like, I got it. Like, go away. I'm like, okay, cool. I see where I stand here. And it was very funny. Like, he was definitely.
I know how to make these cookies.
Back off, man. I'm making hamantash. So, but he was like, it was very interesting because, like, I when you stand back for a moment, apparently I can't help myself. I couldn't stand back. But when you take a moment to stand back and you watch your kids, like, it was very interesting, like at different ages. Like Jacob to the point was like, I'm like, you don't help? He's like, yeah, I get it. No, I think I'm good. You want to help? Sure, you can help. And he's like, whatever. And then like Noah's like just furiously pushing down like, his dough and like this little like, rolling pin, and just things are not changing the size or the thickness. And then Ethan's there, and like he's doing a pretty good job. And I'm like, you want me to help you with this? And he's like, I think he's at that age now. That 8-year-old, 9-year-old age is like, it's time for us to leave the nest, Dad. It's time for me to have my own thing. Yep. You back off, all right? This is my cookie. It's my time. It's my cookie. Yep. So anyway, it was really fun. Different variations of like raspberry and what is that? What's that? Apricot. Listen, I don't know what it is. Jewish people, they can make apricots sound good. I don't know. It's a thing. But we had a good time. We had that. There's prune on the table. Everyone's looking at the prune like, yeah, does it have to be here? All right, come on, prune. We'll give you a try too. And they did a good job. They baked the cookies. We had some pizza. It was kind of nice. So when in doubt, make some cookies with your family.
Sounds like a good time, man.
You know what? It was nice because we don't often get to, we talk about it, about like the idea of like passing down recipes and things, but it kind of stuck us, like, everything feels like, when you have grandkids and the grandparents, it feels like those moments are kind of like a little bit more special and more important when you get them all together and they're like doing this. I hope they kind of remember these little moments, doing things together. So holidays are kind of important, and it was nice to have those kiddies do their thing together. But anyway, so if this is the first time joining us, this podcast, Hey the Parents, it is a chance for a few of us parents who decided that we needed to join our efforts together to try to get through this as a survival course, decided to do this podcast, and we pick a different theme or topic every week. We discuss it from the standpoint of when we were younger, what we grew up with our own parents, and then we shift on to now what it is like as adults and when we do not have a handbook and our own kids, and what we kind of go through, share some of our experiences, learn from each other, and then hear a little bit from the experts. And every week we feel a little bit better because we have each other and we have all of you. So if you ever have any questions or comments, suggestions, we'll tell you a little later in the show how you can get in touch with us. So without further ado, we're going to jump right into the main part of the podcast. And that entails going back in time. This episode in particular came from another parent, and she said that her child goes to daycare, and he came home telling her some stories about how he was playing with some kids, and he couldn't play a game that he wanted to play, that he had to play the bad guy. And at first, she was like, all right, do you always have to be the bad guy? Is it like a thing where you're being told how to play? And she was trying to deal with it. She's like, he's not really like the lead dog. He doesn't always like set up the games. He's kind of more of a follower, but not like in a bad way. He just doesn't want to be the kid to like, set the rules up. And then she's like, let me, so the next day she talked to him and she's like, okay, I have to be the bad guy. He's always a police, but I want to be able to run around and have some fun too. So they dealt with that. So we put our heads together. We're like, let's think of a topic for the show. This is all going to kind of come together. So thank you, Christine, for the idea. And this episode is all about that. When you guys were younger and you were growing up, I don't know about you, but I feel like there were definitely times where, my parents were like in another room. I was in a Playdate. One instance that comes up specifically was I was in a Playdate, and I remember we were playing Doctor. There was a girl and we were playing Doctor, and she apparently did not like my approach to playing, and she smashed me over the head with the Doctor kit. And I remember I was crying.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, all right, well, I guess I don't get to choose what happens in this game except to get beaten by the Doctor. So I'll tell you one thing. I did not go back to that practice, and I certainly didn't think that Doctor had what it takes. But do you guys let's get right into this. I want to hear about you guys. So what are some of the things that you recall from the time when you were younger and all these crazy play dates or whatever else when you were kids? Sarah, you want to jump in?
Oh, man. I think, I don't know. I was kind of like a mixed bag of a child. So with my brother, whatever he did, I followed along, or I just had no choice in the matter. But then when I was like by myself and being my own person, I know I was definitely a little bit bossy sometimes. Like I could be like, no, we're going to play this way, or we're going to do this. And, no one intervened. No one said like, don't do that, but, I do remember like one time we made like this whole game up, and I think the guy was a princess. We had like knights, we had dragons. And I do remember like a child kind of thinking of Christine over there with her son, that like we were like definitely telling this girl that she was like the dragon the whole time. Meanwhile, we had like the better roles, being the princess and stuff like that. So I definitely could see myself being that kid that made the poor person be the dragon the whole time. Oops, I'm sorry.
You're like, there's only one princess in this castle. Yeah, the job's already taken.
It's me. It's handled.
When I was younger, like I was like you, like a mixed bag. Like I always remember wanting to kind of like, I had an older brother and a younger brother, but I always remember wanting to hang out with my older brother and all his friends and kind of do like what they did, because they were the older kids, the cooler kids. I wanted to be a part of the cooler kids. But I guess when they weren't around and I was just with my friends, like I kind of tried to listen a lot to my friends, but also like kind of find compromises. Like when we got into like little disputes of like what we wanted to do, like I would be the peacemaker, so to speak. And I think that kind of put me into like the leadership role, right? Because here I am helping the two friends or so kind of try to make a choice. And, I don't know. So I kind of was mixed bag like you too, just I wanted to be like my older brother, but also kind of try to do my own thing, I guess. I don't know.
Listen, Sarah still gets to be the princess, so don't try to take that from her, okay?
We try.
I had a friend. I remember. So when I was I think it was in first grade. I remember like, how it is when you're younger. You kind of like almost like your friends kind of link up, you make friends, all of a sudden you get best friends and all that whole thing. I remember when I was in like first grade, I remember a good friend of mine, he Emilio, was like a rockin' dude. We hung out. I would adore this kid. I thought he was so cool because he was funny. And I'm like, this kid makes people laugh. I thought his jokes were hilarious. And then they moved, and I was like all sad because I'm like, I remember as a kid, I remember specifically that feeling of like being very sad that my best friend moved away. And then I remember my mom was like, this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna go to school. I'm giving you. Do you guys remember those little like assignment notebooks? They were like, they could fit in your hand, like the little flip notebooks. They're like, you're a detective working the beat, taking notes. So my mom sent me to school with this thing, and she's like, I'm going to go to school. And I'm going to get some phone numbers and make some friends. Yep. And I'm like, wait, Mom, let me get this right. You want me to take this notepad and this pencil, and you want me to get some digits? Is that right? Yep. So
fill it up, kid.
Off I went. I think my mom told me later. I think my mom like got a phone call from the teacher. She was like,
I love it.
Yeah. So Michael's walking around asking kids for their phone number.
Oh, that's adorable. I can't.
I'm like, Mom. So then I remember briefly, my mom was like, you're gonna ask for a school phone number list. I'm like, see, Mom, that probably would have made more sense. So then that was like, you could ask for the class list. Then you have the kids in your class, their phone numbers. And then the weekends you come, instead of the notebook method, who knew that I would be a creep in first grade? So then the thing that happened was my mom would be the weekend would come, right? And she'd be like, I don't care what you're doing. You're going to call some friends and you're going to make some plans and you're going to call and see who's free. And I remember I think part of it was because my sister was very shy and she didn't like to do that. She like, for example, if we went to McDonald's as kids, like, my mom would be like, okay, you have to order. And my sister was like petrified. She would never want to like speak up. So I think my parents must be like a knee jerk reaction. Be like, we're going to make Michael go to school with a notepad, freak some kids out, call them over the weekends. And then exactly. We'll fix the first one with the second one. So, they
just make him weird with a notepad.
Right. But I remember
that's the start of the clipboard. Is the notepad.
Oh my God.
Just saying.
The start of the clipboard.
That is the origin story.
Wow.
Okay, continue. Sorry.
Wow.
The origin.
So, but doesn't the little notepad flippy thing make you feel like I'm going to walk up to you and be like, excuse me, sorry. Where were you on the night of July 3rd, 1960? Like it has like a, clipboard's more like, official. But I have some.
You were official at the age of 8.
I'm like 80% listening to you guys, 20% rethinking my life right now. But the thing about it is, it's hard. But as a kid, like I get where my mom was probably coming from because she wanted to see like get out there and talk to kids.
Yeah,
and,
she was trying to help you out.
Yeah, she wanted me to feel to be creepy from the start.
It's a good mom.
But I remember like because we were talking about this because like with our own kids, but we'll get to that later. But this idea like you used to pick up the phone and used to call other people's houses, and then the kids wouldn't pick up, the parent would pick up like, hello, Mrs. Whatever, blah blah blah. Is Mikey Levine there? And then you call, and then like, hold on, and then like hey, it's me. You don't know me. I'm Michael. Hi, we're in class. No, not we're in class. Okay. And then you'd be like, you'd ask them right, and then you'd ask to make plans, and then they'd be like, Mom, can I get some? And then they would do that, and that was like a thing you did, and I think that was definitely like an experience where you kind of like you got a little gumption. You learned how to like was it easy? No. Yes. Was it awkward? Of course it was. But do you guys remember doing that?
It was pretty cool for me because I lived in a cul-de-sac and it was weird because
I guess cul-de-sacs don't have phones. And notepads. Fine.
No, but what was cool about it was that everybody that lived in the cul-de-sac was around the same age. So like,
oh, wow, that's amazing.
I still remember all those friends from the cul-de-sac. It's like the movie The Sandlot. Like we had that kind of lifestyle. Like, Lindsay and Lauren, Pat and Brian, like all these, Brandon next door to me who actually moved to Taiwan. Little Mikey. There was like all these people, and
I can name all mine too.
It really helped. Yeah, and it really helped help me develop like friendships in school, and just as I got older, just having this like really Sandlot type of community that I lived in, and I actually wanted that for my kids when I got older and I had kids, like because it's a nice little feeling,
Because you remember it forever.
Forever.
Yeah, forever.
When I wasn't being told to come back inside because, I was sweating too much. I think that's more like a puberty thing for my mom, I guess. She was like nervous because it was all guys on the block. It was Matt, Billy, Joey, Anthony, Luke, It was all boys, and then it was like me and Danielle.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
So like at a certain age, like that's when my mom was like, "Don't play." But before that, when I had a little more freedom because I was young and free, I had like such a fun time. Like we would like play, we fish a lot because we live by the water, play manhunt and like stuff like that. So like we had a really good time. Like I missed like going outside and like knowing like once we heard our names being called by our parents that it was time for dinner. Like that was like so much fun. We was like running loose. And we're in the cul-de-sac, and basically it was like if you kind of just like stood around the cul-de-sac for a little bit, someone was coming by. Like they would like kind of poke their heads out, and be like, "Oh, okay, cool," and like just it was like unspoken.
That screamed like ice cream man situation. Like you probably were like this big mob mentality of like.
Oh, the ice cream man loved our freaking cul-de-sac. Yeah, loved it. But we'd look out for the whistle. Like some parents had like that whistle, and as soon as like the parents whistled from like down the block,
cool
the mouth whistle
That's
from down
old school.
Like, oh man, there goes Pat and Brian.
Right,
They gotta go home.
Gotta go.
We still got like 10 more minutes or something. Like it was,
Loved it.
But it was really cool. Yeah, we played like manhunt, stickball. We played all the what was it?
DoorDash? Did you play delivery?
DoorDash, but
You're very ahead of your time.
Ding dong ditch.
Ding dong ditch.
Oh yeah.
That's it.
Oh yeah. We did that too.
But it played a great part in developing like who we are as friends and making friends and how we make friends and being a leader and all that stuff. So it was
delivering food.
It was I love it.
Did you guys? It's funny too. Like I feel like depending on which friend groups you had, like growing up, like I was like a big like imagination kind of kid. I remember like we would like watch a cartoon like Zelda or like. There was like that weird Mario cartoon where they were like wrestlers and half the episodes were like them like walking around as cartoons. You know what I'm talking about? It was a Super Mario Power Show or something like that. Yes. Sarah, if you don't remember, you're a better human being for not watching it.
No, I do remember like there being like the real life, but then it was a cartoon. But I don't remember them being.
Yeah,
wrestlers.
it was both. No, those. Well, one of the guys was a wrestler. Yeah, it was. But the real life character, they were. Yeah.
Okay, yes, I do know. Oh, you mean like a WWE? Right? Okay.
Yeah. Because the 80s was a wild time between the wrestlers in the Super Mario show and the wrestlers in the Cyndi Lauper Goonies video. There was a lot of wrestler stuff going on. But anyway, we remember there was like a Zelda cartoon that was mixed into it every so often, where like Link would be like. Princess. Anyway, so we would play, and it was very much into we'd be very much into like like Zelda, whatever was going on. We used to play pretend with like swords and stuff. And I remember there's one kid I hung out with, and like he wasn't like a kid that was very popular, but we had a lot of fun together. And I remember one time like we were going around the corner to like get I don't remember like a ball or something went out into the guard like. Whatever it was, so we went into the front, and I remember there were kids that were like sporty kids that didn't hang out with this kid, and he saw me with a sword, and he was like, "What are you doing? You hanging out with him?" And I was like, and I remember like there was this big moment where I remember I had a really hard time as a kid talking to my mom. I was like, I don't know what to do. They don't get along, they don't like each other, and it was like a lot of peer pressure. And we were young, man. I think we were like in 3rd or 4th grade, and it was pretty wild. Aww. But I feel like there's definitely like, there's definitely the circumstances. And I think like, depending on, who you hang out with and what your kids hang out with and all of a sudden things change and tastes change. It's hard, Were you guys sporty kids or, I mean, I know Sarah's brother was a sporty kid. Sarah's like, I want to be a sporty kid. I could play hacky sack. Look what I can do.
I was just a kid, just roaming around. Bit of imagination kid, bit of wanting to be physical, I guess, like, moving my body. But
just let me do something.
Can I just do something? But I was getting to my dolls and stuff like that. Like, but I didn't mind. Like, whatever the guys wanted to do, I was kind of cool with it or whatever. But like in the playground at school, I guess that's probably where I was like, I need some power. So I was kind of bossy at times. I know that, like reflecting back. And then there were also times I just want to be like left alone. Like I remember very vividly one time I was collecting these little baby snails. And then like people started following, and I was like, "What are you guys doing?" And they're like, "Well, we're collecting snails too." And I was like, "Well, these are my snails that I'm collecting for God knows what reason." I just kind of collected a whole bunch of them, and because they were so cute, they're like little babies. And then people started following me, and I was very perplexed by this whole situation. I was like, "Why are you here?" Like, this is my activity. I don't know the purpose of it, but now
followers.
Yes, I know. It was slowing me down, but a bunch.
I think
hey,
that's where it all
make
starts
like
is
a
the
snail
playground,
and
right?
leave, but
It
slowly.
always starts at the playground.
It does.
You know, when you're, you know, even like when I was younger and, you know, just trying to go down the slide. Like I remember like going to go down the slide and you get to the slide at the same time as somebody else. And it's like, okay, wait, are you going first or I'm going first? You're going first?
Yes.
No, I want to go first. No, you know? So
Who
it's
went
like
first?
that. I don't know because, you know, that's where you become the follower or the leader.
Yeah, but you know what's
Or
crazy
the
is
bully,
like you
or
have,
the nice person. You know, do you like the
but
baby?
like it's
Yes,
all
like the baby
like
go first?
perception, right? Well, I don't know about you, but I feel like there's so many things that we probably should talk about with having kids and all that
Oh my
stuff.
gosh, so many
You know,
things.
it is absolutely bonkers, but so there's a bunch. Okay, so we're gonna jump into the time now as parents, and this is a part of the show where we discuss what it is like as parents with our own kids, and sometimes we get it right, sometimes we get it wrong, and sometimes we do a lot of guessing. But this is definitely the feel of the show with where we kind of learn from each other. So as we inch away from the Sandlot, here we are in the present times. So I remember. So now as parents, I remember there was this one time, Mike. I think you were at this. This is a long time ago. So Jacob was really really young, and I don't remember if like Ethan was. They were very young. I don't even remember if Ethan was like on the scene yet. But anyway, we were having a party and we're having kids over at the house, and we're just doing like a summer hangout sort of sesh, little birthday party thing. And
I
Jacob
remember
was
this.
having like a
I remember
superhero
this,
party,
yes.
and we came up with some activities, and it was like a whole thing where I'm like, they're gonna have like. I'm gonna make like an area outside with the duck under the lasers. They had like yarn. It was ridiculous, and it was all these things. And at one point, the entire afternoon broke out with there was an activity where the kids had to spray superheroes that we froze in ice. So they had to spray them with warm water to get them out of the ice. And in the midst of all this, we all started spraying our children with water guns. It was delightful. But before that happened, there was a moment where one of the parents had their kid over, and he was a little older than Jacob. And I'm watching, and I see Jacob getting very, very upset. And I'm like, what's going on? And he was taking all of the money out of the toy cash register and like crunching it up and like destroying it and like shoving it in his pocket, like moving around.
Yep.
And I was like looking at his parents. I'm like, yo,
Among
like,
other things.
you gonna do something here? And I remember like it felt like my wife was like doing one of those things where she's grabbing my arm, like, you know, like one of those like, no, you know. And I was like, I've got to say something. I was like whatever. I don't remember what I said, but I said like something along the lines of like, you know, you can't do that with toys, loudly and like whatever else. And I was like, ooh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. But then his parents were like, I guess we should parent now. And it was like one of those things where I was like, come on, man, like you're at someone's house.
Yeah, but
like,
see, isn't that frustrating?
Yes.
That is so frustrating, because why should you have to parent somebody else's child, right? Like that's I think the struggle, because like even on the playground, anywhere you go, like you bring your kids and you're expecting your kids to be respectable, do the right thing. And you're assuming, I guess, other parents would do the same as well, right? Be respectful to your kid or everybody else. Everybody should kind of be looking at it for each other, to be respectable to each other. And then you get to the playground, you get to somebody else's house at a birthday party, and you let your kid just roam free and destroy other people's toys and kind of act crazy. And then that parent is then forced to say something. And now who's the bad guy? Are you the bad guy because you said something? Or is the other person who didn't say anything, their parent, the bad guy?
You know, it's funny because I want to hear from Sara. But it's funny because I felt in the moment, part of me was frustrated because of the situation. But I remember specifically, like, you know that feeling like you feel like the heat in your neck, like you feel like almost like everyone's watching you, like you kind of like feel like you have to say something. I think it was more in terms of like sort of like being the host in a sense, and like you could see like the kid was like kind of misbehaving and like kind of bothering other kids, and it wasn't just my guy, and it was like, I was like, oh man, but like you kind of have to say something. That feeling, I don't know in the moment if that's necessarily what quote unquote had to be done, but there's that feeling like you're like, come on, man, can't we all just kind of like make our kids just kind of sort of be right and do the right thing? But yeah, I mean, Sara, what have you had experiences with like, you know, different values or different situations like that, or just kind of parents playing that one out?
So here's the thing. I don't know if it's necessarily different values. Because, like, in fairness, I don't think that there's parents who are like, you're going to go to the playground, you're going to push as many kids as you can on the floor, and you're going to be just a mean person. Like, I don't think, I really want to believe that there are not parents like that. However, with that being said, Sophia had friends, and they were twins, and I adore them, love them, like my own kids. When they were at their house, angels, behaved, cleaned things, didn't make a mess. Yo, when they came to my house, I don't know what sign I had at the door. It was like, do whatever you want. And
Really?
there would be stickers on the walls, slime being made when I said it wasn't time to make slime, like 2 a.m. at a sleepover. Like destroying toys, just mayhem. So, and I know the parent very well, and she'd be mortified that they were behaving like this. So I said, a couple of times I was like, you know what? I'm not going to say anything to her. I'm going to handle this because I don't want them to do this out of fear. I do want them to enjoy themselves when they're here, and maybe at my house is a little less strict, but it doesn't mean let's destroy the place. So there were times I would say to them, hey guys, you want to do this at your house, right? And they're like, no. So I was like, so it's kind of like that. Like, you definitely do this. You can definitely do that, but don't do X, Y, and Z. And I had to be very specific on the things that bothered me, and I would also at times Sophia wouldn't want me to necessarily direct at them or at a situation. She would text me Mom, they're making a mess in the TV room. I'm like, okay, it's okay. They make a mess. It happens. I'm expecting a certain level of mess, but I would come down and be like, oh my goodness, look at this messy mess we have here. Let's take a second to clean it up. Okay, everyone? So, I think for better, for worse, I mean, there might be parents who agree or disagree. There are times that my kids are taught that if they have company over and they're feeling like they tried a little bit in their best way to say, hey, don't do that, to give me a text, to call and ask for me, and say hey, I need a little help here, and to say, hey, oh, wow, look at this, or let's do that, and kind of make it I don't want them to feel, when I have children at my house or guests at my house, I want them to feel at home, and I don't want them to feel like you're not allowed to touch things and stuff like that. But I also want to make sure we're not destroying my house at the same time.
Yeah, of course.
So I definitely know where I think there, and there have been times where I said, I've called that parent and said, okay, you know what? They're getting a little out of hand. You might have to come get them, or you might have to come hang out with them. And those are hard conversations to have. Yeah. And the parent's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Comes up, why did Miss Desiree have to call you? Why does she have to say I have to come sit here with you guys? And they look like, oh, I'm sorry.
And then they're I'll be there in 2 hours. Guaranteed, I'll be in 2 hours.
No, but there've been some parents.
I'll be right there.
And then on the other hand, with Juju, his experience, some of the parents are a little more lax. I don't know, it's because it's boys or whatever, where, there've been some play dates where things have been a little fuzzy. So just for my own sanity, I just like to make sure it's a little more organized. Who's getting what, who's staying with whom, what are we in charge of? I think that's kind of the biggest things, and making sure that he knows that no matter what, he can always call us if he's feeling uncomfortable. And that's kind of the biggest things, I feel like, as of right now.
I like that because I remember as a kid, that feeling in the pit of your stomach when you knew that things weren't right. And then I think you were just kind of nervous that your parents would get upset with you because of how the other kid was acting. And I think that's not a good situation either, right? But I like how you kind of empower your kids to be obviously they need to be on good behavior, but that they could reach out to you and be like, something's not right. Can you, I know I have to clean this up when they leave, but something is off here. Help, Mom, help.
Yeah, and I think sometimes I've spoken to not just those girls, but other friends I've come by, oh man, this is a big messy mess. Sophia's gonna have to clean this all by herself when you guys leave. Let's help her out now a little bit. And kids sometimes don't realize they're making this big mess. They're doing these wild, crazy things. And we just point out to them yo, your friend's going to have to do this later on by herself. Most kids don't want to do that. I think if you just kind of point it out, they're like, oh, you know what? I wouldn't want to do it either, And to your point, Mike Levine, it's not your parent. It takes a village. I'm a firm believer. It takes a village.
Yeah.
I always tell my kids, you got to listen to any adult that talks to you. Whatever they say is what you have to listen to for the most part, you know? So like, you know, it takes a village. That's all.
I agree with everything you said there, but I do have to say there are those kids out there that, you know, when you say like, "Oh, will you act like this at your house?" Well, they may say, "Yeah." You know what I mean? And it's frustrating. It's frustrating because like when they say that, it's like, "Oh man, what do you do now?" You know, it's like, well, I'm sorry, buddy, but you're not going to act that way here, you know?
Yes, and that's exactly what you got to do. Like, sometimes you got to say, like, well, that's nice. You could do that there, but over here, we don't put stickers on the wall. You know?
I feel like I've had those conversations with my own kids, like, while the chaos is happening. And look, my kids are definitely not perfect. I'm well aware of that. I hope it doesn't come across that I'm like, you know, whatever, but I like if it's going badly, I will grab my kids for a second to get a while to be like, remember, we have our rules that do not change no matter who you're hanging out with. Depending if other kids are acting a certain way, it doesn't change how we expect what we expect from you. And then obviously, you know, I'll jump in and help out. But it's funny because sometimes my kids will get carried along with it, and then like they'll see like kids are acting out, and then my kids think that they can do the same thing. And I'm like, well, we have to like first get control of the issue, and first you got to calm down and act the right way before I jump in here. But yeah, no, without a doubt. And then also like something too that kind of happens, and I feel like we've talked about this beforehand, and it's if it's done the right way, I get it. Like sometimes like your kids will have like not all their toys because that's just straight up being not cool, but maybe there's like a really special toy or something like they just got, like from their birthday, or like there's a special stuffed animal, whatever it is, and they don't want that to be like that everybody could play with it, or like they could get, or you know they're going to get upset at that moment. So sometimes we'll tell them like if there's a certain toy or something that you don't want other kids to play with, why don't we just like put it away, or we'll put it like on mommy and daddy's bed. We'll just put that one toy or two, whatever the main thing is that you're really concerned about. We'll put that away, and then you'll just not play with that when your friends are here, and you can play with that later. And sometimes, if it's done like the right way, I feel like it could be a good thing. If it's like, no, they're not playing with this, not playing with that, I'm kind of like, you're being a little bit ridiculous right now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what I have always done with my kids. I think I read in a book somewhere that like it's okay to say, hey, to your kid, you know, you got this special toy, like you said, put it away. It's okay not to always share every single thing, but whatever is out, you know that it is up for grabs for the most part when we're talking about toys, you know. For example, but another thing I can think of also too is that let's say we got a really cool, nice new box of like sidewalk chalk, and we're going to the park. Because, you know, like, so kind of going back with an unstructured play, you want them to have opportunities to have that. And you want them to have tools for that. However, you also got to remember, you got that new box of chalk. You're going to bring them. Kids are going to want to color as well. They're going to want the purple.
Right, of course.
They're going to scribble it down to a nubbin. So, you know, I always warn my kids, like, remember, when we play with it, like, it's for everyone. You might get every kid from the playground wanting to play. And, like, I think it's like bringing that awareness to them. Is like, listen, when you bring something to a party, people are going to want to, you know, that's really cool. People are going to want to have it. So that's the playground, you know, like you bring the sandbox and the cool starfish cutout thing. Kids are going to want to play with that. You get the new coloring thing with like 20 different chalks. They're going to want to play with it, you know? So...
No, and I just have to say, like, the power of siblings helps with all of that, too. Like, just having siblings in your house on a daily basis, like, you know, like Lucas is 10, Elliot's going to be 8, Hayden's 3, and they all play with different toys. But there'll be this one time where they all want the same toy, and it is chaos and battle, and they're running around the house chasing each other, you know, trying to get the toy from each other. And I'm like, how could these 3 different age groups want to play with the same toy, you know? But what I love about it is within the craziness, you can kind of see the beauty of like the siblings, and kind of just like them trying to figure it and work it out, and who gets to do what, or who gets to play with what, you know. And then doesn't always work out, and you have to intervene as a parent.
Yes, yeah.
That's true.
but the fact that they can practice it on a daily basis with their siblings and kind of like navigate how to deal with those pressures of who goes first, who plays with what, who gets the toy, who doesn't, it's the power of siblings, man. It helps,
So, real quick, if it's okay, I know that these are some great strategies and things to talk about. Maybe we could speak to the thought of like when your kids are on their own and then they're surrounded by kids, and sometimes maybe your kid is like a little bit more of a little more quieter. Maybe isn't the one to like always be like, this is the game I want to play, this is the thing, and then they kind of go along with the game, but maybe they aren't playing the way they want to play. Like, what kind of strategies or ideas or things do you think you could tell your own kid, like when they go out to play with other kids, like how do you allow them to have an opportunity to play the way they want to, or walk away from a situation if they're not happy? Have you guys had anything like that with your own kids?
Oh yeah, tons. I mean, so with Sophia, the most vivid memory I have is that we're at a friend's house. All the girls are fighting over the one princess, I think Elsa maybe at that time, dress that was available at the house. Everyone's be Elsa. They're literally fighting, screaming, and a bunch of us moms sitting there, and we're like, do we intervene? No, let them figure it out. And we're literally kind of just like, it sounds fine. As long as no one's like screeching or crying, we're good to go. So Sophia walks out. She sits down, takes some watermelon. She's like, they're just fighting over this dress. And we're like, oh, okay. So she walked herself right out of the situation. And we're like, yeah, you want to be part of that? She's like, nope. She's like, I don't know. There's a whole bunch of other dresses to dress in, but they're all fighting over this one. She's like, when they're done, I'll play with whatever they're doing. So like that was like, but that's Sophia's like nature in general. And then with Julian, I just feel like with him sometimes like we practice, we role play, so sometimes we have a play date. He might come back, or I might see what happened, and he might be like, hey, something kind of like this happened. So we kind of go over like, so what are you going to say to this kid? So then we actually play. Like, I'm like, okay, if I say this, because he's very much like, if you give him one phrase, but then like another situation happens where the conversation goes differently, so I try to give him different phrases to say, like, okay, and we practice, but I really want to be Mario. No, but you're Mario last time, but you know what? This time, I'm Mario because I'm stronger than you. I was like, okay, but different ways to kind of combat certain things, like to go just have like little things in his toolbox to say stuff, because every kid is different. He needs a little more help sometimes. I think just coming up with the words, and just because he's easy, and that's the thing, just because your child follows people doesn't mean that they should be walked all over. They should be able to follow just because they're easygoing. They don't mind being the dragon, or sorry, Jennifer, that you were the dragon. It doesn't matter if you're the dragon all the time, or the robbers or the cops all the time, but it's just giving them tools to kind of speak up when they're kind of tired of it and say, hey, last time I was this, now I like to be that, and just have them practice it, speak up, because there's nothing wrong with going with the flow. I think that's very commendable, people who just kind of go with the flow.
Yeah.
But boundaries are important.
I think like in our own house, it's different because like I've witnessed like where things seem like they're going south. I feel like as a parent, sometimes I'm like, okay, maybe you guys could come up with a plan where like, if it's like an hour or 40 minutes, whatever it is, why don't you say like the first 20 minutes, we're going to play your game. And then after that, we're going to play our game for 20 minutes. And that sometimes helps. But then like they have this thing where like, especially my middle guy, sometimes that sounds great on paper, but then all of a sudden they're like, oh, but we didn't really play yet. We spent like 10 minutes kind of getting set up, and then like blah, 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 blah. And it's kind of hard to be like, because kids are terrible with understanding time. But like that sometimes is one thing. But I think you bring up a good point, Sarah, because it's sometimes within the context of one game that they're playing, maybe if they continue to go back, like if they're going to play superheroes every time they get together, and then that's the thing they're going to play, instead of suggesting they play something besides superheroes when it's one they actually want to play, giving them strategies and going through like, almost like a social story and going through like a ways that you could kind of go about a turn of events, I think is really commendable, because especially like you can't just feed them one line, because like there's always a second part of the question or a third part. And I think it's good to kind of like do that. I've tried to even have like conversations with my kids pretending like, I know it's really weird, but like pretend I'm the kid you're talking to. Like you're like, okay, okay, I know this isn't like realistic, but these are some of the things that maybe I would say if I was in your shoes during the situation. We could try it out, but I don't think it's going to feel the same if I'm like, come on kids, we're going to play this game. You don't get to be the bad guy, whatever, because it doesn't feel right. But in the moment,
that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's like literally acting out like, I'm so-and-so, you're this,
How high do you crank it? Like, do you act it like really bad?
Yes, I do. I find a little voice.
Have you taken it too far?
Like, I try to think about all the things the kid might say, or sometimes I'll do where I'm my child and they act like the other person. Because
interesting.
In some ways they're expressing the fears that they have that person might be expressed, like they might say, like,
that might be more powerful.
Your lunch smells, and now my child would be like,
and you're like, yeah, it did.
Like it sure did, because it got flavor in it. No, but they come up with something and say like, yeah, and so what? Like some days your tuna fish sandwich smells. Like like what's the big deal?
I think you made another good point too, Sarah, is just like knowing your kid. Like for instance, Lucas is totally the kid that you only kind of have to give him like a couple words or like a little boost of confidence so you could do this type of thing, and then he'll go out there and he'll do it. But like Elliot, I'd have to definitely role play like you do with like maybe Juju or, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just I think, all kids are different and they need different strategies to help them. And, I think what you said, Sarah, was like before was perfect, but it also comes down to knowing your kid and knowing who needs that extra help, who needs that kind of role playing so that they could work things through. I know Lucas always says, it was funny because I told Lucas, I'm like, hey, because he's so realistic. He's such a realist, right? And I go, why can't you just kind of be a little bit more like, I know, kitty, more kitty or something, I said to him. And he goes, like, oh, like your sister, like Elliot. And he goes, Dad.
Oh, definitely compare them. That goes well.
Yeah, I know. I made a mistake. He looks at me, he goes, Dad, she lives in the clouds.
Oh, I love that.
I live in reality. I live in reality. And I'm like,
it might be the first,
my God.
It might be the firstborn, because it feels like that too. Like sometimes I'm like, girl, you gonna say that to that so-and-so? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, let's just like tone that down a bit and like
try again.
Instead of saying that word, let's say that word. And like, are you like in control of your emotions right now? Because it sounds very angry. Oh my God. But like, okay, so another thing I was thinking about is like during unstructured playtime, because again, it's like the idea that we're not intervening as parents during this time where the kids are playing. We're probably supervising, or maybe not at a certain age as much, like kind of checking in, checking out. Like, do you give your kids tools besides like role playing and words and things like that to say? Like, do you give them actual like, hey, these are some activities you guys can kind of do if you want to do that?
Yeah.
Here it is. Like, what do you guys do?
I like how I like the idea. Something that I think I don't know if this helps other people, but for us, there are two things that kind of came to mind. One is when my guys feel like they don't want to do something or they're feeling frustrated. We're starting to realize that we can't just take like just because as an answer, because I feel like something that we try to force on our kids now is for them to give us like legitimate reasons. It doesn't mean we have to agree with those reasons, but I think it's important for us to like have them vocalize what's bothering them about a situation. And then aside from that, what I try to have them do, and even if they don't play these things before like a play date, like if it's at our house, typically, I try to have my kids come up with like, what are like 2 or 3 activities that you could do that before the play date? Like, cause like some kids might not know what to do. They might be coming to your house and they might be like, it might be one of those things where they're looking around and more like enamored by the toys and the stuff, but they might not necessarily know what you're into. So we try to have them come up with like a list of some activities, and we try to give them like, or my wife will even go out and she'll find like a little activity kit or something very simple for them to do together, you know?
Correct. No, I agree. I do that as well. You know, like it's kind of like even Sophia at this age of 14, she's like, Mom, so-and-so is coming over. Let's get some glue, some slime. Like slime is still big for the girls at her, like, that she's kind of found, I guess. You know, like I'll pick up some things from Dollar Tree and just have it. And like, it's kind of like when things get like awkward or weird or just like, you know, it's like boring. Like we played enough dolls and basketball, like activities to do, you know? So like we've done cooking stuff, you know, like, hey, we're going to do like sleepover. Like let's make breakfast together. You do the eggs, you make this, get them kind of involved. And I know it becomes like unstructured, but structured. Like I'm trying to give them the illusion that it's unstructured, which is probably not really unstructured time. But like I think I try to give them just some things to have, like a bunch of like available materials for them to say, let's do this, let's cut this out. Like, and just because I have those things doesn't mean that they have to do a slime thing. They have to do stickers.
But it's there.
Like it's there. So do whatever you want with it. Just don't put it on my walls and we're good to go. You know, Mike Levine, do you have anything like that you do at your house?
Yeah, actually we have like a little workstation where they can just pull whatever they want, and like they can kind of color with markers or crayons. So I think unstructured play helps out a lot. I mean, isn't there something what the experts say about that?
Oh, absolutely. So funny enough, you said that on Very Well Family. They have a nice article about like unstructured play, how important it is to have. So things like markers, buttons, sticks, rocks, blocks, cardboard boxes, all the fun things like where they can like have just imagination. They say that, you know, it's really important because a lot of times we schedule our kids so much and it's so structured where we're constantly like intervening that it's better for them to just have kids to build more resilience and more problem solving skills if they're able to have less parent intervention and they kind of figure it out on their own.
I like what Mike brought up because it's like nice to have a station set up in your house where like kids could just have these tools to make whatever they want. It doesn't have to follow some ridiculous set of instructions or like follow from step 1 to step 30 like you're building Legos. That's kind of fun. What do you have, like papers and markers and all kinds of crayons and stuff? Like how do you have that set up?
Yeah, usually Hayden hits it up and destroys everything. You know, just let her go to town. You know, the older kids have gotten a little older and don't really care for the station anymore. So, but Hayden still loves it, and we let her rock out on it.
I like it. Ethan has this like he got this like. It sounds so basic like what it is, but when you hear about it, it just, if kids like it, it's like just a roll of paper, like blank paper, whatever. It's on a roll. It's on this like little wooden dowel thing. And it's great because like if he wants to make like a map, if he wants to make a whole scene, if he wants to make whatever, he just rolls it out across the table. And it's almost like when you go out to eat with those tables that have like the crowns and you just draw over the stuff. He just loves this massive space where he could draw on, and it's just a lot of fun. Another thing that I saw in this article that kind of made me think is kind of fun is like the clay that you can kind of get that comes in the packages that kind of just air dries, or the clay that you put in the oven. Kids love to like make things out of that, and it doesn't have to like be perfect or fit some sort of like fit some sort of perfection, you know, in some ways. They want to make a burger or a pizza, or apparently everything's with food with me, but they can make anything they want and have a lot of fun doing it. So I like the ideas. It's a pretty cool article. Nice find. All right, so the question this week is, what has worked for you guys at home when you're having a play date? What has not worked? What do you equip your kids with when they go out into the world and they're at school or on the playground or trying to deal with other kids? We'd love to hear from you. If you have any comments or questions or things about that, please let us know. One, you can leave us a message on our Hey the Parents voicemail line at 559-LAY-KIDS or 559-537-5437. Two, you can email the show at heyotherparents@gmail.com. Or 3, you could join us on Instagram or Blue Sky at heyotherparents is a username. And I think we are back for this part of the show. It's time to unplug. This is a chance for where we talk about things that are going on outside of the children, where sometimes it's just something for us to do for ourselves with our spouse. It gives us a chance to decompress because you know what? You will be a better we if you take care of me. So, Mike Levine, we know you weren't here in the last show. You weren't feeling well. But there's a reason for that, because that backyard is a place where you spent some time.
Yeah, so this time for Unplugged, I thought of talking about my backyard. And I don't know if you're one of those dads or moms that like to kind of fix up your backyard. And I thought it would be a great Unplugged. And boy, was I wrong. Do not. I cut down some trees.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Put some... we put some, and
Wow,
we're just trying to make it a nicer
Do you want
backyard.
to come to my house, please?
They were small trees. They weren't big ones. But we tried to do the whole like DIY garden backyard stuff, and it's a lot of work. And it wasn't really unplugging. It felt more like a job or work.
No,
plugging
but
in,
like,
exactly.
but like,
Satisfied? Like, did it come out?
Yes, I would say like you sit back and relax and look at your backyard, and you're like, yes.
I mean, the backyard does look a lot bigger now because there's like less bushes and trees, but there's like so much dirt now. So we're just waiting for the grass to kind of take in, and
that's great
hopefully
news, though, right?
we get that nice greenery.
It's gonna
Yeah,
look
because you
beautiful.
have like the front room, right? You have the front part of your house, like the front lawn. I know that's gated in, but like there's something nice about being in the backyard, like where it's like more private.
Yeah, just having like a nice like oasis backyard, because sometimes you can't always go on vacation, so you like to have a nice little vacation on your backyard.
Absolutely. No, it's good.
The house costs determine that you're on a staycation, and that's just how it is.
Yes,
no,
exactly.
but like the thing is that you had to plug in by doing stuff, and then you could get to unplug and enjoy the fruits of your labor, and the kids too. So that's wonderful.
Exactly.
Good for you.
And
I
just
love
like
it.
keeping your eyes closed as you wait for the grass to grow in. Sarah, what is it like to on your Unplugged?
My
I was
parents
trying to allude
unplugged.
to Love Is Blind. I'm sorry.
Mine is as trashy as we can get. It's a guilty pleasure. Love is Blind. Oh yeah. So this season was Hot Mess Express. Gene and I have been watching it since the beginning of it, and even then, it's still kind of messy. But this season, for whatever reason, was super messy. If you've been following it, ladies, gentlemen, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But I just think if you like watch it, like it's just entertaining. The concept overall is that you're gonna have conversations with these people. You don't get to see them, and you might fall in love with them for their personalities. There's been some successful relationships and some major flops, and this season was a lot of flops. So
wait, how do they do it? Are they like behind like a curtain, like they see their outline? Like how do they?
So they're in different pods and they can't see each other. Maybe like
Okay.
a quick little like a shadowy outline, perhaps. I think. No, not even that. I don't think. But then
So
they're
no
like,
silhouettes,
hey,
just okay.
just nothing. And they're like, will you marry me? It's like, yes, I will. And then they have the big unveiling. They're really like happy. Or this season, they're kind of looking at the camera like, what the heck? But overall, I think it's a guilty pleasure. I love it. Enjoy it. Sit down, trash the TV. Nothing wrong with that at 9:00 at night.
Sometimes those shows are good because like it doesn't really matter if you kind of like sort of stop paying attention for a couple minutes and chat and like just laugh about it, because like what are you really gonna miss, right?
Exactly.
Right.
What about you, Mr. Height?
Right.
So I've been talking about the bread thing for a little bit, and I was texting you guys earlier. I had a quick swaparooski for the time to unplug, because this morning I've been making sourdough for a while now, and this is coming on year 4, which is shocking to me that I'm saying that out loud. 4, that's crazy. And I've been making just like the whole time I've been making just like straight up bread, whatever. And one of the women that retired from where we work, she's kind of coming every now and then just to kind of visit and stuff like that. And she was telling about her baking, and she started doing these things with sourdough where she was like putting things into the breads or like trying different recipes. And one of the things that struck my attention was the Kalamata olive bread that she was talking about. And I don't know about you guys, but when we went to Italy, there were these little like pretzel-y things called torali that they had. People call them like Italian pretzels. I don't know. So anyway, these are little twisty things, and they've come in different flavors. And one of the flavors is black olive. And whenever I see these things, I get super excited because I love. I don't know what it is.
Right.
They're so good, right? That flavor
like those
with that like
things you show me.
Yes, exactly. And the black olive flavor, like it has like a nice, good background. I don't know, whatever. So it's a good flavor. So when she said this, like in my brain, I'm like, this makes total sense. Like why this would be good. Like I could almost picture it. So I tried, went to Trader Joe's, got like a can of Kalamata olives, and I think I did this the right way. I chopped them all up, pressed them with paper towel, got all the moisture out, and I mixed them into the bread, and we baked them today, and they were really good. I was super excited about it. So this is a little bit like sourdough 2.0, but like I think like what I enjoyed about doing that was I took something that I was enjoying, that I was like definitely like I found like a lot of comfort and peace in like just like making food and just chilling out, whatever else. And I was doing it every weekend, and it was getting like a little bit like it was getting like a little bit to the point where I was getting a little bit kind of bored with it, and I was kind of questioning myself, like, do I want to keep doing this? Like, am I enjoying this? And then I was like, okay, wait, this is something new, and I got super excited, and I was feeling like there's more work to be done. You know what I mean? And now that I tried out this Kalamata one, now you know me. Now I want to perfect it. So now next time around, I think I want to do like rosemary and black olive and caramelized onion. I don't know if the caramelized onion will make it gross or not, but we'll try it out. And then there was another one she sent me.
Focaccia almost. Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. Yes, that'd be good, right?
Yes.
Maybe with some like the sun-dried tomatoes. And then there were
if
two
you
other
need
recipes
guinea
she
pig,
sent
I'm
me.
here.
You know what? I think maybe you guys can get some bread soon. There were two more recipes she said, and I was trying to picture this of like combining the sweet and the sourdough. One was like almost like a cinnamon roll, where like you roll it out and then you put cinnamon and sugar in, and you kind of roll it up and bake it into like a loaf pan. And then the other one was even crazier, was a sourdough with like chocolate in it. And she said it was insanely good. So my friends, my two good friends, look forward to trying out some wonky bread. But I will say that so far the olive exploration is good. But for me, the biggest thing about this week was getting out of my element and just trying something new for sake of trying something new. And I felt invigorated. I really enjoyed it. I was like, I'm back in it. I really want to try and learn and play around. So there's something to be said about like, you know, you go really far into something. It doesn't mean you need to keep going that direction. You could kind of mix it up a little bit. But I love your recommendations, Mike. I might take a look at the backyard and come right back inside. But I like your thought. The heart was in the right place. So I think we are. Yes. I think we're just about out of time on this episode on unstructured play and friendships, and getting the kids out there and making friends, or figuring out what to do when things don't go according to plan. How to deal when the games have to be, when you have to kind of share time with games or different roles. Because you know what, you don't always get to be the princess, the dragon, but sometimes when you do, you just got to make the most of it. So we like to take a moment to thank our listeners and supporters for donating to the show. If you want to help support this show so we can keep making shows just like this one, we have a link to donate in the show notes. If you don't have the means to do so, we hope that you can tell your friends or family about our podcast so we can reach more parents and learn from you guys. And if you have the chance, please leave us a review in Apple Podcasts or Spotify. We can't wait to explore this parenting thing again with you next week on Hey the Parents, because it's the three of us and all of you. Don't forget to hug your kids and charge your Chromebooks. That's going to do it for me, for Mike, and for Sarah. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Peace. Hey the Parents is produced by Mike Levine, Sara Desirines, and me, Michael Haidt. I edit and mix our show. Our intro voice recording was done by the one and only Coltrane. If you like our show, we will hope you consider going to our show notes and help support the podcast. Find us online on Instagram and Blue Sky at Hey the Parents, or send us an email at heytheparents@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next time.